Married at First Sight, Season 17, Episode 17. So in this episode, we saw more of the singles retreat, more of Emily's bloody head, and more reasons why they need to change how they produce this show. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tells. Emily and Brennon. So we see them in Emily's hospital room where Emily looks like she just survived an attack during the zombie apocalypse. Why is she still a bloody mess? Don't they clean up the blood and put a band-aid or something on the wound so she can't pick at it? Clearly, they stopped the bleeding and tacked it down with something, but I'm just saying. Meanwhile, Emily's experiencing Stockholm Syndrome because after she crashed, Brendan came to her rescue right away, or maybe it's the Florence Nightingale effect. Either way, she's all dewy-eyed and holding Brennan's hand, feeling a special kind of bond with him, which we all know won't last. Brennan called Clarapis, of all people, like he's closer to the men on this show. But anyway, he called Clarapis to let the cast know that Emily crashed, and he said that even though she was wearing a helmet, a tree branch found its way under her helmet and cut her head open. Oh, that is so awful. But I'm not convinced this was the cast's first time hearing the news. Felt like they were acting to me, but Emily got emotional after Clarapis said, "Oh, Emily, I'm so sorry." She broke down in tears, and I'm sure all of her emotions she may have been holding in, including the fear of possibly never being the same after this accident, came rushing at her all at once. So after all was said and done, Emily opted to go back to the retreat. She said she wanted to get all the hugs and I suspect the attention she would receive from the cast and crew at the house, opposed to going home and being all by herself. Now, on Afterparty, Lauren said that Emily and Brennan didn't get back to the house until after midnight. She said they were gone for 12 hours that day. She also said that the branch was 1 inch away from cutting Emily in a place that would have been fatal. Wow. Could you imagine how crazy and tragic that would have been if she died? I mean, bad enough she got wounded trying to build a bond with a mute who wants nothing to do with her, but almost died trying? In any case, she rode up to the house looking like someone just performed a medical experiment on her head, blood still in her hair, which was partially shaven, a huge scar running from her scalp across her forehead, and a painful looking swollen black eye. But she's making jokes, calling herself Frankenstein, and chatting it up with the cast. Her spirits were high. Now, the following day, she told the girls about how Brennan seemed to be the only one who had an urgency and ran over to help her after her crash. She also seems to be thinking that this incident may have helped their relationship. I think she might be putting too much on it. Now, there was no doubt that this was a special moment in time that they will never forget, and it will forever be a part of their story of being on a crazy TV show. But I don't believe it's enough to resurrect a relationship that pretty much crashed and burned after the first 4 days. Becca and Austin. For the love of Gabrielle Union, Austin, will you please tell Becca that sex is off the table because you're hoping to qualify for an annulment after decision day? Stop playing games and tell her you're not going to have sex with her. Sex is all they seem to talk about now. The buildup for sex is so dang high that it's probably going to be bad if they do have it, because they are putting too much emphasis on it. And there's no doubt that producers are pushing them to talk about it every time they roll the cameras. Surely there's more to work on in this relationship than just sex. Meanwhile, Becca caught a stomach bug and was puking her brains out for like an entire day, and even kicked Austin out of the bedroom for a night. It's like the universe is telling her that, girl, this intimacy situation is not supposed to happen. Now, on Afterparty, Lauren said that Becca told her that Austin will push her away when they are kissing, and that Becca often feels rejected. Now, Austin said that after watching the clips of his behavior, he can see where he unintentionally set up the wrong expectation for this trip, like in terms of sex. So to me, it sounds like he never intended to have sex with her during the retreat, even though when he told Becca before they left for this singles retreat that he wanted to work on some of the intimacy exercises Dr. Pia suggested, it was obvious that Becca interpreted that as they were going to have sex. He should have corrected himself in that moment and said, I am never going to hit that, so keep your drawers on, honey. Meanwhile, by the end of the retreat, Becca was super frustrated and was crying because she never thought she'd be in a situation where she practically had to beg to feel wanted by her husband. And Austin had no words of comfort for her. He was like, well, I was hoping we would end the night on a good note, but obviously we're not. Since pretty much the beginning of the season, I've felt like Austin has been holding back for some reason. And I'm not talking about the sex, because his demeanor towards Becca has felt like he feels something is missing or is off. I don't know if it's her medical issues, or maybe this is why he's single. He's got no game. I'm a bad communicator and doesn't know what to do with a woman who might have more moves than him under the sheets. And I'm not saying he owes her sex. I'm saying he owes me an explanation of why he's acting so funny. Lauren and Orion. Ciao. Orion was up there performing for the cameras again, and Lauren was not having it. Lauren has said multiple times that Orion always has some big word salad to say to her when the cast is around and the cameras are rolling. But when the cameras are off, he doesn't say one word to her. So Chloe and Michael were asking everyone what the state of their relationship is. And Orion spoke up and said that they had some heavy conversations and disagreements that caused their marriage to blow up into flames after only 10 days. Then he went on to say that he would like to work on bridging the gap between he and Lauren. And I hope we can work on that during this retreat. Sorry, I should have brought this up earlier to you. Everyone was looking at Lauren and she didn't say a word. And look how Clare is looking at Orion. Look at her, look at her. She's looking like, ugh, just shut up. So Orion was like, would you like to respond when I talk? Lauren picked up her glass and said, I'm just going to drink my wine, which seemed like a really cold-blooded response. But on Afterparty, she said she thought that moment was funnier than what we were shown because Clare spilled her wine. Austin was coughing. It was like this silly scene in a movie. But she didn't respond because at that point, they had already been there for like 40 hours and he never spoke to her or pulled her aside to have a conversation. Instead, once again, he waited until there was an audience to become a grandmaster at words, then wanted to chat it up with her. So she was not trying to play his games. But with all that said, she sat down and talked to him twice one-on-one at the retreat. And I know you can't control your tears, but I wish she would stop wasting them on Orion. She basically told him that she's open to being open to him, but needed some time to decide what she wants from him because she's only looking for genuine connections, unlike him being so fake, and then asked him to let her steer the way. Girl, steer his butt to an Uber and let him find his own way back to Disingenuous Boulevard. Nobody's got time for him seeking his 5 minutes of fame by making false announcements about what he wants, how he wants it, and when he wants it, just so he can make up for the camera time he lost by bouncing from the marriage too early. During the retreat as a group, they played games, did yoga, except for Emily and Becca. Then they went to a place where they did this ninja warrior type obstacle course, and Michael killed it. I'm sure he was like, don't let the hoop earrings and pearls fool you. I'm a man up under this skirt. Chloe seemed to enjoy watching Michael excel on the course, but to the girls, she said she's struggling with attraction because of his flair and fashion sense, which, by the way, experts, I thought would be a problem for a minimalist who's also a self-proclaimed recovering perfectionist. No matter how nice Michael may be, I would think someone like her would struggle with someone who wears skirts, wants to share her jewelry, and has more pink in his closet than she does. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying it's not for everybody, especially a minimalist who struggles with perfectionism. Now, on Afterparty, she said she goes to bed butt naked. Maybe that's her way of hinting to him to take off his skirt. Like, less is more, honey. But based on the previews, it looks like she's going to ask him for a break. So it sounds like Chloe is not happy. And the experts should have left well enough alone and not allow Michael to marry Chloe, who was clearly their 19th choice for Michael's bride. I think the show needs to change up their formula. Now, I don't watch the Australian version of the show, but those of you who do say it's better than the American version, I don't know, maybe they need to allow for some spouse swapping. I actually think Michael would have been a good swap for Lauren, and maybe Brennon and Carapace would have been a better match. Even if they aren't, it would have been more entertaining to watch them try to switch partners instead of quit 7 days in, only to have them come back to make cameo appearances as single divorced people every 13 minutes. Look, I'm ready for Decision Day so we can move on to the reunion and maybe learn some tea on what's really going on behind the scenes this season, because I bet these folks have some good stories to tell. In the meantime, that's all I got to say. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.